During the next half hour, we'll show you highlights from the major Respect Life activities that recently took place in Chicago. We'll visit one of our local Catholic schools where teachers and students are embracing the concept of personalized learning. And we'll talk with the director of the Institute for Lay Formation at the University of St. Mary of the Lake, Mundelein Seminary. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Hello, I'm Todd Williamson, Director of the Office for Divine Worship for the Archdiocese of Chicago. And with me in studio is Dr. Linda Couri, who is the Director of the Institute for Lay Formation up at the University of St. Mary of the Lake, Mundelein Seminary.
Yes.
Linda, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Good to see you too.
You and I know each other. We've worked with each other for a number of years. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
We wanted to have you here just to talk about, for our viewers, the whole idea of lay ministry. Now, the Institute for Lay Formation is 3 years old, 4 years old?
It used to be called the Lay Ministry Programs.
Right.
And then it was changed to the Institute for Lay Formation probably about 5 years ago.
Okay, about 5 years ago now. But as a formal institute of the University of St. Mary of the Lake, tell us about this program.
I think it's easiest to think about the Institute almost like a small college. So universities are set up in such a way that they cover a wide array of things. And then couched within the university is the seminary, as well as there's the Institute for Lay Formation, the Instituto de Liderazgo Pastoral, the Institute for Diaconal Studies. So to think of those as little colleges that exist within this larger university.
All right, so what's the purpose, what's the role, what's the mission of the Institute for Lay Formation?
The Institute for Lay Formation is focused primarily on preparing and forming lay people to be serving in their churches at all different levels. So the church is completely dependent upon the laity in order to support and bring it up and raise it up and to inspire witness and to bring communities together. So all the way from people who are the volunteers, which are the foot soldiers in parishes in a lot of ways, to train them and to form them and to bring them into a place where they can feel confident in their baptismal call to witness to Jesus Christ. So from volunteers all the way up to people that will be working in professional level jobs and director jobs. For example, people that would be working in parishes as directors of evangelization, for people that would be working as coordinators of lifelong formation. So everything that goes from the most, volunteers, I'll put them up here because they shouldn't be down here because really the volunteers are so important and there's so many. Forming them and bringing them in, and then also forming people and training people and educating people to be at kind of ecclesial positions within the church.
All right. Many parishes are familiar with the ministry of the pastoral associate. Are those people who might take part in the Institute for Lay Formation?
So pastoral associates, directors of religious education, directors of lifelong formation. Some of the terms are changing because of Renew My Church. So it's taking these ideas and bringing them into the new reality of Renew My Church.
Listen, every parish, as you said, needs the presence and the help and the ministry and the support of the laity.
Yeah.
Every parish has professional lay leaders. The Institute then plays a really key role, doesn't it, in the formation of ministers for the Archdiocese?
Absolutely, because our leaders need to be well-versed in the foundations of what does it mean to be Catholic and theology and what's our mission as Catholics, as well as when we train leaders, leaders as you know, need to be trained in things like conflict resolution, difficult things such as just communication, how to manage volunteers, how to manage a whole lot of people.
Sure.
So we do that training as well.
They certainly, the lay ministers, the lay leaders in the Archdiocese do an awful lot in this church. Everything, for example, recently there was the Respect Life activities, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Huge gathering, a rally at Holy Name Cathedral, mass with the Cardinal, the rally down in Daley Plaza. That was largely organized, supported, led by lay leaders.
Absolutely.
You know, our Office for Radio and Television put together a video on the activities of that day. Let's take a look at it.
Great.
Here we go, ladies. Give it right here. He's the man. Come on, guys. J-S-U-S. Yay to the gentleman. Give him a hand. Well done.
The way the Lord lived his life and how he understood the favor of God resting upon him, he saw himself connected to people. You know, in the Gospel of Luke, right after this scene of the baptism of the Lord, Luke gives us the genealogy of Jesus, going all the way back, not to Abraham as Matthew does, but to Adam, to show that we're all connected. The degree that we understand ourselves as connected to one another, we will understand what the pro-life agenda is about. It's about making sure that everyone has a place at the table of life, that no one is excluded. It's important for us to see how our lives are interconnected one to another in a way that allows us to make sure that everyone has a place at the table.
My name is Rihanna, and this is my daughter, Sophiana. 3.5 years ago, I was facing an unexpected pregnancy. I initially felt scared and overwhelmed. I felt like I'd be so judged. That's what led me to my first decision of abortion. I didn't know what to do next, so I went online and the first thing that came up was Aid for Women. The woman on the phone was so understanding. She offered me a free ultrasound and said that we could talk about all of my decisions. When I went to my appointment at Aid for Women and saw the ultrasound, I cried. I was able to see her whole body. She was my breathing little person. So after the ultrasound, I knew in my heart that I couldn't go through with an abortion, and I wanted to keep my baby. I don't think there's a greater love than a mother loves her child. When I see her, my whole world lights up. She showed me what love is, and she showed me what being alive is again. I'm so very grateful for my baby.
Awful lot of people taking part in that. You have taken part in the Right to Life, Respect Life activities.
Yeah, for sure. I was at the march a few years ago with Francis Cardinal George doing the big, rallying speech, seeing all the people with their yellow balloons. It's really inspiring, really important work.
Yeah, it is. And many of the people involved in that get their start through Mundelein Seminary,
Absolutely.
right? And interestingly, when people hear University of St. Mary of the Lake Mundelein Seminary, they immediately think of the seminarians and the training of seminarians for the priesthood. How does the Institute for Lay Formation, how do you interact with Mundelein Seminary?
So it is true. When people imagine the University of St. Mary of the Lake, the place, they see all these priests being formed, which is true, all these wonderful men seeking to be formed to be priests. But in the middle of it, we also have the Institute for Lay Formation, because one of the most important things is to bring together the clergy and the laity to work together.
Because they'll be working together in the parishes.
Absolutely. And also they really help to support each other. And they're two different vocations. I mean, we all have the baptismal call. Right. But in addition, when you take the charisms of the laity and you combine it with ordination, I mean, really, there's so much work that can be done.
Wow.
And there's some very interesting things happening right now at the university,
like?
Which is, it has now been decided that there's going to be certain classes that laity that are in the lay ecclesial ministry program will be able to take with the seminarians together.
Really?
So, yeah, and so this is in the work right now. Now, there's certain classes that don't make any sense to take together because they aren't necessarily being trained in the same rites and liturgy, etc. But there's certain classes that make so much sense for us to cross-pollinate and for them to be studying together.
So, for example, a class on ecclesiology, the nature of the church.
Absolutely. On ecclesiology, Catholic social teaching, morality, because that's where a lot of the most difficult questions come up in the parish, and how do we begin to navigate these new difficult questions that are happening, the ones that are the most challenging to parents and just people in parish communities, and to work together and to bring together, you know, what's going on for lay people just in the secular world, and bringing that in to the university and to the seminary. And it's this cross-pollination that really creates good team building.
Interesting. You mentioned a few minutes ago vocation. Most of us have an understanding of a vocation to the priesthood, right? Vocation to lay ecclesial ministry, that's the formal term, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
How do you define lay ecclesial ministry?
So lay ecclesial ministry, all of us by our baptismal vocation are called. But people with a call to lay ecclesial ministry, it's almost like a vocation within a vocation, a call within a call.
Okay.
And they're called to bring all of themselves and all of their passion and all of their gifts and all of their mind to work within the church for the sake of building up the church. Okay. So it's similar. This is This is how Francis Cardinal George thought of it, and our Blaise Supich right now, Cardinal Blaise Supich is thinking of it as well.
It's how the United States Catholic bishops
absolutely
have defined lay ecclesial ministry.
So it's recognized as a vocation. Oftentimes people confuse vocation with lifestyle. You know, the idea of being celibate, and that's not necessarily the case. A vocation is a call from God. And people in lay ecclesial ministry specifically feel called to give their life for the church in a very similar way.
You know, I don't know if you noticed, but while we are filming this, lay ecclesial ministers of the Archdiocese are gathering in this building.
I did. I saw that. It's perfect.
Right, for gathering for support and to take care of business. But it's there are a lot of people up there. The Archdiocese of Chicago has many lay ecclesial ministers.
And this is something I'm very proud of, Todd, because I serve on a committee at the USCCB, and they often look to Chicago as the place that has really cultivated lay ecclesial ministry. And they're always saying, can you write a history? How has it moved? How has it changed? What have we learned? How do we need to revisit co-workers in the vineyard of the Lord? So they're often looking at Chicago as an example of how to understand what lay ecclesial ministry is.
Who can be a lay ecclesial minister? Anyone? Is there a process?
There is a process for sure, but first of all, you have to feel the call from God or sense the call from God. So usually in prayer, people come with us or come to us, and we help them discern, do you have this call? And then we assess exactly how they can enter into an academic, spiritual, pastoral, and human formation program in which they're in it for about 3.5 years and become a part of this local church, a part of this ecclesial community, and train them to become leaders and journey with them in prayer and in community.
In many ways, it is similar to the formation of those studying for the priesthood.
It's mirrored exactly like it.
Yeah.
They're mirrored exactly the same way. It's just done differently because they're not living in residence. These are people who have full-time jobs, but yet have the energy and the passion to give what time they have. I have often had it be said by the seminary professors that teach the lay ecclesial ministers in other classes that these are the best students that they have in so many ways. Yes, because they're people that have spent their day doing something else, but yet find the time and the energy to devote all of themselves to their studies afterwards. So it really energizes the professors.
Interesting. There's an awful lot to continue talking about, and we'll do that, Linda, right after this break. We'll also show you some innovative learning that's taking place in our Catholic schools. We'll be back after a short break.
Good morning, welcome to Catholic Chicago.
Catholic Chicago is on the air. Tune to WNDZ 750 AM weekdays from 8 to 9 in the morning to be informed, inspired, and entertained. From what's going on at your parish to news from the Vatican, listen and learn or join the conversation. That's 750 AM weekdays at 8 AM or online at archchicago.org. Click on Radio TV. Be an informed Catholic. Listen to Catholic Chicago.
We'll be back after these messages, and again, do not touch that dial.
We have great news about Catholic education from two of the best-known Catholics in the Chicago area, Cardinal Supich and Sister Jean.
I'm here with Sister Jean in a Catholic school classroom, and Sister, we have something in common.
Oh, Cardinal, we each have a bobblehead.
Well, actually, Sister, I was going to say that we both benefited from Catholic schools and were taught by the sisters.
Oh, yes, we were, and it was the best education, faith, values, and how to love people of all backgrounds.
Unfortunately, many parents can't afford to send their children to Catholic schools, but now there's hope. A new tax credit scholarship program here in Illinois offers scholarships based on need, so students can attend a school of their choice.
My scouting report helped the Loyola Ramblers this year, and my scouting report on a tax scholarship is that donors will get a 75% state tax credit.
Sister Jean, that's a win-win for donors and for students who get the gift of a Catholic education.
Speaking of a win-win, I think we should both have our own bobbleheads.
Now, Sister, that's what I call a slam dunk.
To find out how to donate and get your tax credit, go to archchicago.org and click on Tax Credit Scholarships. Thank you for supporting Catholic education. Chicago Catholic, in print or online, is your go-to source for news about the Catholic Church. In-depth coverage that stretches from Chicago to the Vatican, thought-provoking articles, including columns from Cardinal Blaise Supich, photographs that inspire, reviews of movies, books, and TV columns. Go to chicagocatholic.com to subscribe. Be an informed Catholic. Subscribe to Chicago Catholic today.
Welcome back to Catholic Chicago. I'm here with Dr. Linda Couri, who's the director of the Institute for Lay Formation up at the University of St. Mary the Lake Mundelein Seminary. Before we get back to our conversation, I want to tell you about the great turnout we had for the 5th annual Celebrating Catholic Education Breakfast at the Hilton Chicago. Attendees heard from a strong lineup that included Catholic Schools Superintendent Dr. Jim Rigg, Cardinal Blaise Supich, and the keynote speaker, DePaul University President A. Gabriel Esteban. The audience was also treated to a video showing the positive results of a personalized learning program at one of our Catholic schools. Let's take a look.
Change is in the air at St. Albert the Great School in southwest suburban Burbank. Thanks to a partnership with Leap Innovations, the St. Albert School community has embraced a system of personalized learning that has inspired both teachers and students. Let's hear from those directly involved in this transformative educational experience.
This type of learning is exciting, and quite honestly, it's what educators live for. This is every day is now filled with those aha moments. And it's just so exciting to see students talking to you about real academic goals and being able to articulate things that you never knew that they could even think of.
It's opened up a whole new world for our students. The students have more opportunities to interact with each other besides the teacher directing everything. They have more choice in what they're doing, and so it's totally changed the way we teach.
I like about St. Albert that we could work with groups, we could work with partners, we could sit anywhere, and we could work with our friends to get all of the answers right.
I like my classroom because we get to work in groups and we partner up and we work in teams and we get our sand chairs, we have beach chair, we have the mats. So when we work, we get comfortable in different spaces in the classroom.
The kids enjoy it. They love the seating assignments. They can work on computers, Chromebooks. So the autonomy that children are receiving through personalized learning is something that really registers with them.
Student-led conferences, it's not like your teacher will say, oh, well, she's doing good in this and this, but she needs to work on this. Like, you're telling your parents how you're doing and what you need to work on, and you're showing them your grades and you're showing them your things, circuit grades, and you're just showing them what school is like for you.
Well, our personalized learning system, everyone has their own methods of learning, and so it's very the personalized learning expands all of that, so all of us have our own way to learn best, and so we could get to our full potential. We believe in grows and glows. Grows are things we need to grow in, we need to get better at. Well, glows is stuff that we realized off of our ACT scores that we already are good at.
We're trying to teach the kids that it's okay to fail. You know, the big thing with our kids that we're trying to get past is, am I going to get an A on this? Is this going to be graded? We're trying to get them to understand that this is a process where it's a learning process. And in order to learn, sometimes we have to fail. And that's okay. You didn't get it, and our big word in here is yet. Okay, you don't understand it? You will.
We usually have this PL plan, this personalized learning plan. We usually talk about our grades and how we're doing. If you're decreasing on a grade, she'll want to see you, and they will usually talk about it and how you can improve on your grades.
It is my tracking list, and I have to do stuff every day. And today I did read to a friend, writing, and word work, and listen to reading.
This is the future. This is how they're going to learn. This is how they're going to interact with each other, and they're going to work in the outside world. So this is the beginning of what they will do later in life. And they love it. They love the independence. I love that they are taking some ownership of their learning.
Not everyone in the class always has to do the same thing at the same time. So it's personalized, so you can do what you want when you want. So it's not always boring, I guess you could say.
The work that comes back when they take control of their own education, their own assignments, it's better than it ever has been in the past 16 years that I've been teaching.
So our next move is to realize that once our students have learned all the skills that we've worked with them on so far, that what they really need to do now is to start thinking about the world in general and how their critical thinking skills can have an impact on their communities and in the world at large.
An awful lot happening there as well.
Yeah.
That last person that we saw in that video was a principal, high school principal.
Oh, yeah. And
they trained up at
absolutely
the Institute for Lay Formation.
And so principals who have given their lives once again to be principals at Catholic schools, it's a particular, almost a vocational call. It's different to be a principal in a Catholic school, and there's a different level of responsibility. And we often do some of the training with them as well.
Interesting. Renew My Church is just constantly in the air here in the Archdiocese of Chicago. Very important process that the Archdiocese, that the parishes are going through. What role do you see the lay ecclesial ministers taking in the Renew My Church process?
Well, as always, the laity are the foundation in so many ways of what's happening. And what I like to say is that as this tectonic, it's a tectonic shift, this Renew My Church.
It is.
And it's hard to adjust to.
It's a new way of being church.
It's a new way of being church, which is responsive to the needs of the church in general. It's tough, it can be hard. But in the midst of this, we have a really stable group of people called lay ecclesial ministers or lay ministers, the laity in general. And lay ecclesial ministers, many of them have been in this diocese for a long time and have seen how it has moved. And we have new people coming into the system. So as our parishes come together, and as we feel both the stress and the opportunity of this, to send in people that have been trained in different ways. So everybody has different gifts.
Right.
And as we bring together this diverse laity to come in and to assist their pastor in a very real way with these transitions, and to continue to accompany the people, One of the things that I think is really interesting about lay ecclesial ministers is they tend to stay in one community for a longer time because they aren't necessarily moved or placed elsewhere.
Right, you mean a parish.
At a parish.
Yeah.
So that stability and everything is its history. So they'll be stepping into positions as director of evangelization, working very, very tight with the pastor and kind of a core team. And they'll continue their training, so they're trained more in and begin to understand and be formed more in evangelization and reaching out, going beyond our parish neighborhoods and going into the neighborhoods that surround our physical parish and to our actual parish, which is everybody in that area.
Well, that's kind of a model for the pastoral staff of a parish in Renew My Church,
Absolutely.
right? Is that the pastor is to be surrounded by very close collaborators who are lay ministers.
Yes, and they're very enthusiastic. And they're very, very well trained. I have to say that theologically. And we also form them spiritually. So they're people of prayer, they're people of community, they're people of ongoing learning that are continuing to keep themselves up to date on whatever is happening and different workshops. So they're great.
Yeah, and committed.
And committed.
And dedicated. I know a number of lay ministers in this archdiocese, and they are truly good people.
Absolutely good people, really competent people as well.
Yeah, and that comes from?
Yeah, from our training.
Right, institutes like?
Yeah, well,
the Institute for Lay Formation.
Institutes that are, set specifically aside, recognizing that having a well-formed laity is really creating the foundation for our church now and for the future.
Vital.
Yeah,
vital to the future of the church, right? Linda, thank you so much for your thoughts. Before we sign off, we'd like to salute all the staff and volunteers of Catholic Relief Services. CRS just celebrated its 75th year of helping needy people around the world. Let's take a look at a short tribute from Cardinal Blaise Cupich.
For 75 years, Catholic Relief Services has been a beacon of light for people cast into the darkness of natural disasters, famine, war, and other calamities. We've all seen photographs and videos of our brothers and sisters struggling to survive in countries ravaged by these catastrophes, and we are proud that CRS was there to help. This 75th anniversary should prompt us to thank God for the CRS staff, supporters, and partners around the world. The commitment of CRS to uphold the sanctity of human life in keeping with the moral and social teachings of the Church is an example to us all. They put the gospel of Jesus Christ into practice, coming to the aid of all in need, regardless of race, nationality, or religious belief. I pray that God will continue to bless CRS as it carries on a proud tradition of helping others, all the while reminding the entire Church what it means to be a field hospital in the world.
Well, congratulations to Catholic Relief Services. Linda Couri, thank you so much for being here with us. If people want to find out more about the Institute for Lay Formation, where can they go?
I recommend going to the University of St. Mary the Lake website, www.usml.edu, and there's a scroll down menu and it's Institute for Lay Formation, and it will well navigate to who you need to speak to.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. More importantly, thank you for your ministry in the Archdiocese and your ministry with the Institute.
Absolutely.
It's a pleasure to have you here. To our viewers, thank you for watching. We will see you next time here on Catholic Chicago.
We invite you to watch segments of Catholic Chicago and hundreds of additional Catholic videos at youtube.com/Catholic Chicago. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter.